I'm back. All right, so I'm back in the studio and just got to do some new video, right? I want to try to do this a lot more often and get more posts out there. I got my episode done yesterday, just letting you guys know I'm back, where I was going. Still have not done the video that I originally had planned to put out that I filmed on Charlie Kirk's day of assassination. But I just got to get more relevant videos up to date. You guys can see that eventually of where I've been and what happened to me. Today is episode. I want to go ahead and go over. I've been getting a lot of these like DMs right after everything I've posted politically, and I got a DM from a guy that I knew in high school who was um, he's pretty liberal back then. Okay, um, I mean, very, very liberal. And then throughout life, I think he got even more liberal. I don't remember exactly what he does for work or anything. But he came at me with, here's what I had posted. I'll have to go and see if I can read it here. I said this. I didn't say it. I just retweeted it. Or, posted to Instagram stories. Most people who yap for a living have no idea what it means in this context. You can not even begin to tackle waste, fraud, and abuse if you don't have a system of record, if there's zero transparency in that system. If there's 20 different systems that can't talk to each other. Let's see here. No, this is so much older. This is something that he sent me May 2nd. Well, that was totally wrong then. All right, this is the one that he was responding to me on. He's clearly had some back and forth with me on some stuff. Okay, this is what he responded to. This is posted by Autism Capital. I could probably go and find it on Twitter, but I'll just read it to you guys. The fact that the right, who watch their peaceful vigils disrupted, their memorials desecrated, etc., don't fight back, but just watch with silent rage, shows how broken the system is. The right person knows that if they do what's right, defend, detain, etc., they get arrested and charged. Their life is ruined. The left person, the disruptor, knows that they have some sort of magical protection force field that protects them. So they act with impunity. They can't get in trouble, so they don't care. The incentives consequence system is completely perverted. If the right knew they could respectfully detain and resist without having their lives ruined, they would. If the left knew that if they violently disrupted, there would be consequences, they wouldn't. It's very sad that this psychological, mostly unspoken knowledge is collectively understood. That was the thing that set this guy off. And he sent me this for it. Peaceful vigil, in quotes, is an interesting way to describe the mega riot insurrection at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. By the way, I'm not referencing that. I don't even think I referenced that in other stories around this. This is just his whataboutism, essentially. He said, but hey, then he goes on to say, but hey, you are clearly an enlightened guy. Some sarcasm there, probably. Please, period, share more of your wisdom and knowledge with us, my lord. I'm just dying to hear it. This is what this guy sent to me. This is how I responded to it. You're a lost cause, Colin. I will never convince you, and I don't care to. Good luck out there. I'm glad you're still watching me, my guy. I was a little testy as well. And then he goes, so instead of responding to my argument, which I didn't understand was an argument, by the way, you're attacking me personally. Unsurprising, but painfully on brand. That's how he stated this. So this is my response. I'm pretty sure you didn't make an argument. You decided to mock me, and I politely declined by saying you are not worth the time. You are steadfast, and nothing I say will change your mind. I truly wish you luck with your outlook on life. I feel like it's too bitter for me to reconcile. You'll do fine whether I say anything back or not. I'm not worth your time debating. You are older and wiser and much more resilient in your beliefs. Had to hit back with a little sarcasm. He went on to say an actual argument. And I think this is where I did want to take some time to go after this. I get very emotional when I get into these things. And I always have to take a step back and kind of calm down. I think everybody gets this way. You just have to be willing to admit it. And I do think that there are some, I have to think about why it makes me emotional. And I think that there are some truths to the argument that he's about ready to lay out. I believe, let me just read his portion of the argument, and then I'll go into what I believe, I suppose. He states, "My argument is that it is well documented by credible sources that most political violence comes from the far right. So if you have an alternative data set to present as a counterpoint to that claim, then I would love to learn more about that. But to sit here and present the political ideology that you subscribe to as being an innocent victim that is being oppressed while your political opponents are inherently violent and acting with impunity is as wrong as it is ridiculous. And I think that at this point, to continue to go along with a movement that perpetuates a narrative like that reflects very poorly on you." And then he sends me this little halo emoji guy after that. Just, this thing's loaded with sarcasm, right? The guy's very bitter, seems like. "So you are right that I'm older than you, but wrong about being wiser, just better read." So claiming that I'm an idiot. And I don't read very well. And I don't. I listen a little bit better, but my listening's terrible if you ask my mom. So, "The killing of Charlie Kirk is part of a grim pattern of political violence in America. This is what the data show." This was a post by The Economist. Now, this thing, I mean, I'm telling you, I went down the rabbit hole. This guy sends me this, and I go, dang, that is a very convicting chart. I'll show it here if I can find it. I think I'm on Twitter right now, so I will show you. We will have to come back to this post. I got it bookmarked. But I went to the political violence right-wing, or The Economist right-wing violence chart. So here it is. This one right here is what he's referring to. Man, this got me. I'm like, dude, the Prosecution Project. This looks legit. I'm seeing a lot of red on here. I don't know why the left is black. I think the black definitely makes it show that it's very slimming. Black is a slimming color. And it makes it look like the ideology behind leftist attacks is very, very small. Like the amount of left ideology purporting to actual violence is very small. But man, there's just a lot of red. I literally saw red when I see this chart. The guy got me. I'm done. I'm cooked. The Economist. I've never heard of such an unbiased document. It's clearly the truth. And I had to dig into it. It took me 3-4 days. I mean, other stuff was going on. Life is busy. But I had to dig into it. I had to look into it. I asked people in chats. I went into Twitter. I was like, or X, and I was hitting people up. I see that, debate this kind of stuff all the time. And yeah, so I had to push back, and I found some stuff on this. But before I even get into that, I think there's something to acknowledge here. I think conservatives and Republicans have an absolute monopoly on violence. And I think that we are much more efficient. And I hate to say, I don't hate to say this. I think that this is just a fact. I think that people that typically grow up raising their own food, having to put down pets because there's no one else around to put them down when they're hurt or suffering, having to kill and cut up and take care of the meat that gets put on the table. I mean, you've had to raise this animal, you've had to take care of it, feed it, nurture it, save it potentially from dying too young, and keep it from suffering, because you do know that, I mean, it's called a dark cutter. I mean, when an animal's stressed and you kill them, they taste horrible. It almost spoils the meat when they have stress in their system. You want to kill them as quickly as possible and get the blood out as quickly as possible, meaning you want to have a painless death, an unstressed death, in order to get the best, meat, essentially. We're raised on that. We're around that ideology. If you're not around that, you're kind of blessed. You're able to act like there isn't violence in this world, essentially. There's been this divide between people that live in the cities and, which are predominantly Democrat and liberal. They don't have to deal with many of the harsh realities of life. That's just what it is. Is in order to live out here in the country, you've got to do what that country song says, hunt, fish, and everything else. And we figure out how to find joy in that and do it in a way that is not harmful to people. We're doing it for the love of people, right? We want our families to eat. And we have more guns than anybody else. We have more weapons, more deadly, I think, more access to deadly weapons than anything else. And we know how to make a weapon out of something. All of us learn how to carve sticks and build our own bows and all that stuff growing up, right? And we weren't shamed for it, right? So it was a steward situation. It was like being a good steward is what these traits were, these skills were. And I do think that has an impact on someone's ideology and them willing to commit violence. So that's why this political study killed me. It was like, I say killed me. That's obviously my exaggerating points. Not great to say that, but it really got to me on a deeper level because I go, man, I feel like we have the most access to be able to commit horrible atrocities. And I feel like we are also the most reserved. The warriors in the garden situation. Just knowing how capable the guys that I've grown up with are. They hunt and hike for miles and miles, suffer through so much pain and struggle to go and kill an elk, right? And it says something about them. And I think that goes to show these guys aren't going to be hurt by something that's said to them. They're not going to be taken to a place of violence because of words. They're not going to be taken to a place of violence. And I just didn't want to believe that the right is the ones perpetuating this political violence. I don't want to believe it. That's my honest bias. That's my honest belief. So I had to go through this. I had to research. I had to look into it. And, I went down the rabbit hole. I went down, like, where were these numbers coming from? What do they classify as terrorism? What do they consider as right-wing? Believe it or not, KKK is considered right-wing. I didn't know that. I thought that, why the Republicans in the North fought against the Democrats. Democrats were upset after the slaves were freed, and they were the ones committing segregation, all these atrocities, lynchings, and things like that. They were the ones that had an issue with this. Like, there's people that fought and died to protect these people. I went down this whole rabbit hole of who's considered right wing and all this stuff. Turns out there was not great evidence to show what was considered a conservative or a right-wing violent offender, other than cases that said felonies, and felonies motivated by, so killings, motivated by political ideology. And everywhere has different definitions of this, but to put it in a chart the way that this was done was egregious, because they went from 1990 to 2025. So they completely eliminated any of the environmental activists that occurred in, like, from the Weather Underground and other people like that were also anti-Vietnam era war and all this other stuff. Like, there was a lot of political violence committed on the left before the 1990s, and they, were able to get rid of that by just starting in 1990. There's also some cases here that were committed by Chaz. Like, there was, and they considered that anything that's like anti-government, that was considered a right-wing act of terrorism. there's a huge skewing of the 2021 January 6th protest, which was tried in a heavily, 92% of that jury pool demographic, where the jury pool was selected from, 92% of those people voted Biden, were very Democrat, very liberal. And most of those infractions were all brought in on trespass charges, because you have evidence that people were on places that they shouldn't have been in the videos. And I think only like 20%, I better look this up, but it was pretty interesting how the amount of actual violence committed there was done by, I think, like this one guy, Proud Boy. It was considered an assault on a police officer was just impeding their ability to enforce the law. That was what a felony assault was considered. And so anywhere you see people like pushing to get past police, that could have been considered a felony, and especially if it was done, tried by a jury pool that's very liberal, right? So I think that skews a lot of things, a lot of debate to be had there. The interesting thing is there's like over 1,500 cases from the January 6th riots. It was a massive effort by the federal government to go after these guys when D.C. itself is in shambles. Criminally, there's just the crime rates there are just insane. But this is what they wanted to go after, was these people that were walking into the Capitol. Only one death, by the way, Ashley Babbitt. Because of congressional hearings, which was 7 Democrats and 2 Republicans on this committee, they claimed that there was 4 suicide deaths that occurred July, a couple months after, and then a couple more later on, were all tied to this. And so they essentially, like, I don't know how you can do that. They said that because of what occurred that day, these people wrote letters or alluded in some way, or their family members alluded in some way, that this was one of the reasons why this person committed suicide. I don't think that's necessarily a very honest way of saying a death had occurred from those. If that's the case, and we're to do a whataboutism, and we look back at but you look back at that entire year of 2020, there was a huge amount of violence and damage done across the United States in blue cities, highly Democrat cities, like where you had damages from the Chop Chaz event, you had damages from BLM riots, you had damages from Antifa riots, all within Democratic cities, defund the police riots. And a lot of those were just let go because they were tried by extremely liberal judges in extremely liberal jurisdictions. They were all let go on protest charges. Nobody was really arrested. The people that were taken into this, like that were gone into the streets, the National Guard and everything, they were there to deter. They weren't there to make arrests. The cops were literally told to stand down. Do not make arrests because we don't want to deal with the lawsuits, like by their city departments. So they were there to deter, but there was no actual arrests made. And billions of damages. So if there's, 3,000 or 4,000 people at the Capitol, or however many there were on January 6th, I actually don't know. But there's 1,500 cases brought in that one instance. And now you look back and you go, well, there was billions of dollars. There's only $2 million, I think, of damage. I say only. That's not great. On January 6th, $2 million worth of damage. But we're talking $1.5 to $2 billion of damages across the United States in these very liberal cities. And there was only 300 or 400 felonies brought and charged out of all of that damage, out of all of that time period over a year, not just one day. There's some bias. There's some bias to this. I don't know how to say it any other way. And I also want to state this. The right wing that commits political acts of violence, where they typically do it, they're going to be convicted not only by the liberal, judges or whatever they have there, but conservatives are way more likely to convict, and they have a much superior, like, right and wrong moral code, black and white, much stricter. They're way more willing to convict for a lot less. Okay? So you'll see the right policing themselves a lot better and willing to go after these egregious acts of political violence. We condemn them. So I just want to show, just kind of put that ideology out there, put that viewpoint out there, is why I believe this chart is skewed. And this is like me just trying to come up with, like, why is this? This just got me to my core. Great job, Colin, on getting me stumped for 3 or 4 days. But then today, as I'm doing this research and I'm looking into this stuff, I find this, which I had pulled up earlier. The guy that owns the company that is the ones that did this research, the Prosecution Project, is called Michael Lodenthal. This is him. This guy right here. Now, we're not supposed to judge anything. We're not going to judge anything here by what he looks like. But I'm going to go to, and I don't necessarily agree with this guy, this Jack Passo guy. I've seen some stuff that I don't really agree with him on. But this is pretty damning evidence. This is the guy that did the research for The Economist, the study called the Prosecution Project. He's the one cited. And he's got some interesting writings here. But I want to show you guys this video. See if I can find it. That's what he looks like. But where are the comments on this thing? I was just looking at this video. Here we go. All right, here we go. Check this out.
Known as anti-racist action, AR. As a younger person, I would organize largely through what at the time was known as anti-racist action, ARA, which is basically very akin to what people understand today as Antifa. But we would track far-right activity in the as a younger person.
So they track far-right activity, blah, blah, blah. All right, everybody's in here being toxic. There's another video that I wanted to show. You guys are getting the raw, uncut version of this as I work through this. This one's 14 seconds. Yes.
So what do anti-fascists do with this info? And again, I just kind of implied, but and I'm not saying that everyone pictured as anti-fascist. I'm speaking more generally about deplatforming. But we contact employers, landlords, commanding officers, school officials, family, clergy. Family is a tricky one, but it is important. And we pressure service providers. And by pressure, I don't mean like intimidate and threaten. I just mean like let them know that this is what's being done. And typically on that kind of 2021 CYA, I want to appear like a loving social justice corporation, people will kick people off. So what do anti-fascists do with this info? And again, I just kind of implied, but and I'm not saying that everyone pictured as anti-fascist. I'm speaking more generally about deplatforming. But we contact employers, landlords, commanding officers, school officials.
So this
family,
guy is
clergy, families.
Very. I mean, he's an activist. Okay, I mean he's very much an activist. You can go ahead and see like if he's teaching deplatforming tactics, how to find private payment processors and like go and alert them to people speaking a political opinion that opposes his own. It's pretty nuts. Like that right there it should be pretty damning. But there's one other thing that I thought was really interesting. I gotta keep finding it here. I'm not doing a great job at having all my stuff built up before you guys got to this. I think it was this guy that's Stony Baloney. Again, I don't condone or necessarily believe anything that these guys are saying in these chats, but I do like the videos. The videos are videos. They're showing exactly who these guys are. I mean, it's by their own statements. So let's see here. Let's see, Stony Baloney and Michael Lodenthal. Aha. Yeah, he is an extremist. Blah, 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 blah. Why can I not see this video? I really want to show you guys this. I have to go to his page. I don't like going to people's pages. It always makes me nervous. I don't know what they're going to have posted there. Uh-huh. This one.
20 or yeah. Anyway, when I pierced my septum, I did it largely for a dog whistle approach, because the only people I knew with septum piercings were anarchists, and it was a person to person, hey, I get you kind of signal, and that's why I did it. I'm like self-aware enough to know that. But with the 20.
Yeah. So he's on a watch list, a professor watch list I saw, for having some pretty radical beliefs. And this is the guy that did that study. Looks like he's getting some government funding for it, too. If you look up the Prosecution Project, that's what you're dealing with in that study. So I think what I'm stating here is pushing back against this. Colin, that's my response to this. The other response I had that was just off the top of my dome, was the YouGov surveys. Everybody's seen them, I think, but they essentially say like not the actual. I don't know. These surveys are always tough to say if they're real or not real, but I saw the YouGovs just to show that I have a chart. I saw the YouGov survey. Oh my gosh, stop. I saw the YouGov survey that showed who believes political violence is okay. And let me see. YouGov survey political violence. Everybody's saying it's a leftist problem. YouGov poll. I really don't know what these guys are using for parameters for this, but here's another chart just to show like, all right, I got a chart too. But it's like political ideology, very liberal, moderate, conservative, very conservative. And it shows most Americans across political spectrum say political violence is never justified, but younger and more liberal Americans are more likely to disagree. Do you think it is ever justified for citizens to resort to violence in order to achieve political goals? I will say this is pretty damning, right? I don't know why the left never gets blue. Why do they not get the blue color? But here it says very liberal is 25%. They believe that. Liberal is 17, moderate is 9. And no violence is never justified. It's pretty high in the conservative to very conservative range. That's a very recent survey, right? So not like going and trying to point fingers and see who's who. This is people actively admitting what they believe. I don't know how it was labeled or written or anything like that, but I will say my personal experience, I know these don't matter for much either, but when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, the comments went to, just the comments under any TikTok video of this guy getting whacked is like very clear. People were cheering for it, happy for it. People said, "Why didn't you reload? You missed his wife and kids." Like crazy stuff, right? And like tons of likes, tons and thousands of likes, millions of likes, I think in some cases. I haven't seen millions, but I mean, I believe it. If you see 3 or 4 million views on a video and 230,000 likes on that video, that's one rendition. I mean, who knows how many of the same people are going and liking. You can only like one video once, but that video gets replayed and pushed out there. Like it's crazy. And the fact that people were commenting with their personal profiles, not like random hidden profiles. This isn't like Reddit. Reddit's disgusting, by the way. It's absolutely horrendous over there. It's so liberal and so just bad. But I mean, it was like Facebook posts, it was Twitter posts, TikTok videos, like just nuts. So ultimately, I don't hate anybody. I don't condone political violence. Neither does Colin. He went on to say that he doesn't condone political violence either, and I said something snarky about that as well. I think I said good cover. But that's my response, Colin, and I'm activated. I'm not. I mean, this is how I feel like I have to talk about this stuff. I feel like if I'm going to get into this, I want to give greater context to these arguments. And ultimately, though, survey or not, beliefs or not, I stand for this country operating on Christian values. That's it. Conservative Christian values. I want moms and dads to have control over their kids. I want there to be lots of babies. I don't believe in abortion. I don't think it's a good deal. I don't think that you're condemned for life, or I don't think that you're necessarily a horrible person unless you're celebrating it. I don't think anybody should celebrate abortion. I don't think that's like a can't wait to go get my third one done. I think that's pretty nuts. I understand tough circumstances and tough times and all of that. I understand that there's shitty men out there that knock somebody up and don't take responsibility for it. I totally get it. And I just love all people. I want people to love their people. And if they are making a person, no matter how that person came about, I hope that they can love that person. And that's just how I am. I hopefully I'm not, come at for that. But I just think that we need to love all people. Yes, if we wanted to do better and have more babies, then maybe we should figure out how to adopt the ones already here. Absolutely, I hear that. I think that needs to be done too. I just see a lot more people willing to do that on the Christian conservative side. I really do. I see a lot of people putting the money out there and wanting to have kids of their own. And if they can't have kids of their own, I just think that that's the views I have, right? I just don't want the government to be taking care of kids. I know that sadly is a lot of times the only option. I want more people to love more people, and that means taking in more people, right? And that's just what it is. But and then that's going to be, well, why don't you do it? Well, I'm flawed. I'm not perfect either. I just think that humans are not something to be eliminated. If anything, they're the ones to grow and to be better stewards and all this other stuff. So I don't want to get into all this other stuff today, but I just am, those are just my overall views. And overall, if you have something you're working on and you want to get done and you want to, produce more fruit with your labor and things like that, I'm here to help. I want to use this platform to talk about some of these things that get pulled up, and I'll do the research and I'll look into and state my viewpoints on it, just so that other people can show it's okay to do this. But I love business. I love entrepreneurship. I love people becoming owners, managing their own money well, managing their own lives well, and not having to count on the government or another system. I want people to be able to count on their communities, and I want them to be able to count on other people interested in helping you develop your product or your service or whatever. I want to see more of that going on. I think that people that are productive are good. People that are making something are good. People that take care in their craft are good. And that needs to occur more, and people need to find more purpose that way. I think that once you find a purpose, a lot of this stuff doesn't matter. You're way more worried about producing that thing that you enjoy producing and you found purpose in producing, or helping those people, or providing that service. It's really freeing, because after that, it's like, man, I'm just way more worried about what I can make for others. Be a maker. And when you're a maker, you can let this stuff go. I think it's the people that put their whole identity in this stuff that are oftentimes like the most bitter and are not going outside and touching grass and like working on things. I know that I get really bitter and really upset when I make this stuff my whole identity. I essentially did. Colin called me out. He sent me this thing. He got me. And I got really bitter about it. I had to look through it. I had to research it. I had to figure out why is what I believe makes sense. And I will continue to do this, and I'll continue to make videos on why I believe what I believe. And maybe you'll get me. Send me everything you got. Maybe you'll get me. Maybe you'll send me something that I'll go, oh, yeah, after a lot of investigation, this person's right. So that's it. That's my post for today. I don't know who really cares enough about Colin and I's conversation to go through it. But if you get sent this study, now you know it did have some pretty serious bias in it. And just make sure that we got to be checking our surveys and seeing where it's coming from. So, all right, that's it. That's all I got. See you in the next one.